Peace. I'd like to give rise, honor, and praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the highest of all points of reference, the highest points of creation, the highest of all, Lord of all the worlds, sustainer, merciful, and the most benevolent. I'd like to give rise and honor to his great seal prophet, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'd like to give honor to Prophet Nubuddha Ali, who was sent to us in this day and time as the messenger for his people here in northwest and southwest of Mexico. I'd like to give rise and honor to Messiah Garvey, who was a forerunner for the prophet, as John was a forerunner for Jesus. I'd like to give rise and honor to Jesus. I'd like to give rise and honor to all the prophets that were sent with a message, with the holy book, with the revelation, to help free and help people remember that they are not of this flesh and of this world, but they are of Allah, and they will soon return, so they should return their focus to Allah. I'd like to give rise and honor to all the Grand Sheiks of the past, Grand Sheikesses of the past, all temples that were in existence and that are now in existence. I'd like to give rise and honor to all the bodies, grand bodies, set groups, and so forth, so on. Rise to honor to all Moors, declared and undeclared. I'd like to give rise and honor to all the ancestors. I'd like to give rise and honor to you out there in YouTube, internet, Facebook, Twitter land, etc. Peace. This is Brother Talik L, coming to you with another blog. This is pretty much for so-called Black History Month. I'm going to enlighten you with some information about, pretty much the Moors, or the word Moor. At the same time, give you some clarity on some information you probably never heard or never thought about. Because during this month, they focus on slavery, roots, and those type of things. We want to share some information that might clear up some, give some other perspective of our experience here on this land, in some recent centuries. So I'm mainly going to focus on the word Moor. Reason why I wanted to embark on this journey with the word Moor is because I was on Facebook and I came across a particular individual who pretty much made a statement that said that couldn't understand Prophet Nubuddha Ali's teachings. He said he spent some time studying his teachings, and he found them to be kind of contradictory, and they didn't necessarily make understanding on certain things. And I kind of, was disturbed by that, because I usually don't really try to battle people on Facebook like other brothers and sisters do. I kind of just read and I observe. That wasn't the first time. I ran across somebody years ago who said they were in the Moor Science Temple in America. They were actually a Grand Sheik, and they left. Now they're on the Kemetic legacy, and they said, it was a white supremacist. Like I said, if you check out my last blog I put up, I totally show you point for point where Prophet Nubuddha Ali was telling you who the devil was, and showing you that the white was just a status, and that the current oppressor is posing to be white, is posing to be God in that sense. So you check that blog out for reference. But this one, we're going to try to go into the word Moor, because what he said was that the word Moor, and I heard this plenty of times, I heard this from one of our great scholars, who everyone respects in New York and around, around the different communities. He said that Moor means black and that type of thing. And I'm gonna clear up something for you. The term Moor is synonymous, in a sense, what it says is synonymous with the word black or dark. The word Moor, when it says it's synonymous with black, that doesn't necessarily mean it means black. When it means synonymous, that means that things that the ones that they call Moor, or ones who they call Moor, were black or dark. Doesn't necessarily mean that if they describe the sky, they would say it was Moor. The sky seems Moor that night. You know what I'm saying? Or, he was, or how's the, what's the color of the horse? The horse is Moor. You know what I'm saying? They didn't necessarily use that in that sense, but every time they used the word, they referred to somebody as a Moor, that person's skin complexion was dark. So it became synonymous with dark because those who were Moors were dark, or their skin color was black. You know what I'm saying? The word Moor has more of a phonetic spelling that goes back beyond Greek, because the majority of scholars always stop at the Greek reference, Moorish or Moro or whatever, and they say that it means dark or black because that's the only recorded reference that is prevalent at this time. No one has went back past the Greek. And remember, the Greek language is Phoenician in origin and Kemetic in origin. So we have to take that into reference. You know what I'm saying? Because they didn't necessarily have their own language. And remember, the people who settled Greece, the Minoans and the Cretes, they were all colonies branched off from Kemet and Phoenician, existence. Alright, so let's get into some things. We said Kemet. I'm going to go into a scholar who everyone referenced, and I know a lot of people will be like, oh, he's going to a Caucasian scholar. Well, this Caucasian scholar, a lot of our Kemetic Pan-African scholars use his information. They either use his or Mustafa Gabala. But Wallace E. Budge is probably the most documented, most clear person because he's the one who was given a lot of access to, Kemetic information to study it. So I'm going to go ahead and break it down. His books here. I'm going to come out of this here to this is a good book to reference, Thalik's Children. Jose Piamenta Bay, Dr. Jose Piamenta Bay has definitely documented a lot of information about the Moor Science Temple, the meaning of Moor. So I'm just showing that. I don't know if I'm actually going to go into that, but I want to show you some things in this here. Wallace E. Budge, an Egyptian hieroglyphic dictionary. Right? So this is volume 1. I'm going to go into the Moors. Now remember, when you do the M pronunciation in Kemet or the Metaneter, it's always an owl. Right? Owl represents, and that seemed like that symbol had carried on with the Moors even into their rulership in Europe. As you see a lot of crests with the owl on it. You know what I'm saying? Which represents wisdom and those type of things. Or some type of hierarchy. Because when you look at an owl is not a subordinate bird. It's very high off the chain, and it possesses mystical powers. Or they'll say mystical because it usually can navigate through the night. The unseen, the night. Every time nighttime represents the unseen realm. You know what I'm saying? Daytime represents the physical realm or the natural realm, but there's people usually correlate the night with the unseen realm because things that don't show up in the daytime that you see appear at night, and the owl can navigate through the night. And the Moors, being that they were connected to the mystical teachings, they were able to navigate not only in the physical realm, but they navigated well in the unseen. So when you see crests with bats, I'm gonna go into that in another blog showing Sufism and Moors, linking that and all that. But let's go into the word Moor. Now I try to look up all different ways of spelling Moor and putting Moor and Moor together. So let me go here and try to show you what I found, and you just decide for yourself. Alright, on page 281 in this dictionary, I found Mari. Now everyone knows that another word for Kemet was Tamore. Alright, but without the TA or whatever, you have Mari. Mari means defeated Libyan king. It's on the Israel still. Now, under that definition, or another definition, another word they have is Maresar. Maresar. And the word definition they have is treaty, a Hittite king. Alright? So, the Mari is M-A-R-I. Maresar is M-A-R-E-S-A-R. And sometimes they in question whether it's actually spelled M-U-R-S-A-R for the Hittite king, the word for the Hittite king. And remember, in if you look in chapter 48 in the dominions of Africa, or the Moorish Empire, I think it's chapter 46 or 47, chapter 47 in the Moorish Holy Quran. The Prophet Noor explains who were the ones who left the so-called Canaanite region with the Moabites, Canaanites, Hittites. It was the Hittites. Hittites were there. So it wasn't just the Canaanites who were called Moors, or the Moabites, but the Hittites were with them too. So here's a reference towards the Hittites. The Hittites being part of that group of individuals who went along with the Moabite kindreds. Alright, so we have that. We have another definition. We have another word term, 283, that page, and we have moderate. We have a mar, which is a shrub or a tree. We have mararu, which is groom, size, herd, servant. We have Maru, spelled M-A-R-A-I-U. This is on Israelites still. This is the Libyan king who attacked Ramses. Alright. There's Madagari. May I rejoice. Right. This is Marina, Lord, Chief, Officer. Now I want you to start to kind of listen to the definitions, certain definitions that come out of this, and kind of see something. It means Lord, Chief, Officer, Marina. Then it goes down to Marsar, king of the I think it's the Kitta, king of the Kitta, Marsar. Makata, a name of Amen. I'm on page 283 still. So you have these different words that have more in it. So I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna turn the page. We have Mer, spelled with the M-H-E-R, which is the title for APEP. This is on page 284. We have Maru, young cattle. You have different. You can see that sound. That word more is not just prevalent to the Greek. The Kemites were using mar for many things. Remember, Kemites use one word and it meant a billion things. It depends how you pronounced it and when you used it and what setting you used it. Just like some of the words we use now. Like I can say night, it's night, or one night. If I say one night, right? Depending how I use one night, that could be a time, right? Or I could mean a person. One night, like a warrior, a shining knight. If I, you know what I'm saying? But if I say night, but spelled differently, but at the same time, I'll pronounce it the same way. You know what I'm saying? Or I can just say run. I say run. I'm running. You're physically thinking I'm running, right? But, and actually, if I say I'm running this house, or I'm running this job, or this operation, this program, who runs this? I do. I'm not physically running or making a motion, but run at this point means that I'm in charge, or I'm the head person of this operation, or I'm actually in control. So that's, you get the understanding of what I'm talking about. So we talk about the MH. We go on, because that's not it. There's more. There's much more to explain here. Alright. We got move. So we get the MARs, right? We did MARs. And we want to do the MERs. Right? MERs. Right? I usually have it. I had a bookmark on it, but it fell out, so y'all gotta bear with me. We have Moor, which means here on 308 we have a sacred serpent kept in Edifu, the protecting spirit of inundation, right? And there's different other pronunciations for alright. We have Mer Neter, the lake of the god, or Mernu, the lake in which the serpent fiend Rerek was drowned. You have Merhetep, the lake in Seket Araru. You have Merkaru, the lake of the herons in the Twat. Mersab, the jackal lake in the Twat. So you have, Mer being used in different forms here. So not only reference those, people outside of Kemet, but it referenced things inside of Kemet. Not only people who are invaders, but people, those inside. I'm gonna show you. He used it for people inside the realms and dominions of Kemet. All right. So 310, page 310 says, Mer, beloved one, a title of several gods. Right? And then under that says Meri, the title for several gods. So not only they said Neter, but some gods had a title of Mer or Meri. You know what I'm saying? So it meant a title for several gods. You know what I'm saying? Alright? You have, you go on to the next page, 311. It says Mer, which means overseer, chief, officer, head superintendent, director, foreman. You know what I mean? So, a lot of times, and if you keep going, because the time won't really permit me to go through all these, but you have Mer present in different words. And a lot of times you will find that these words have similar standing. It means someone of a high position, overseer, foreman, director. I even have officer. I have governor. I have some words have, is for governor of something, or the ruler, or oversees a sacred property, or they oversaw something. You know what I'm saying? So when you're dealing, and not only that, the backtrack when you talk about the one married for beloved, amore always meant the loved one or beloved one in French, or it's Italian. Yeah, and I think it's Italy. I'm sorry. I think it's amore. Always meant a beloved, or something like that. Beloved ones. You know what I'm saying? To give another example, because the brother couldn't understand, why don't we use the word black to identify ourselves if Moor means black? Well, you go into Spain, not Spain, but Latin America. Usually, a person who is my complexion or darker will be considered moreno or morena. If you're familiar with hip hop, rest in peace to Big Pun. His song, the remix, Still Not a Player. You know what I'm saying? He says, at the end when they doing the little chant, Boricua Morena. I didn't even understand what they were saying. I mean, I knew what a Boricua was in Spanish or whatever, but I was like, it never caught to me until I got into this information that the Morena meant, those who weren't, who were darker complexion. But they also call them, but they also use the word negro or negra, meaning black. So why moreno or morena? You know what I'm saying? Because morena Moor didn't necessarily mean black, but it meant who that person was. It meant, it comes from a lineage. It comes from here. It comes from this lineage, which means those who oversaw the land, who were lords of the land, who kept the land, who were in charge of the land, where the European and other specific groups had to pass through, and they had to get privilege and credence. They had to give some type of tax or tariff to the Moors, the ones who ruled the land, who oversaw things, who oversaw the knowledge, because none of them really had any deep sacred knowledge. They had to go to them to get the knowledge. So you look at the pages I called out, 281, I think 282, 283. I'll go to 285, 283, 281, 283, I'm sorry, 285, and then go to 311, 310 to 311 in this book. You'll find what I mean. You know what I'm saying? You'll find out what I'm talking about. So that's the Kemetic reference I wanted to give. So we have a understanding of that word goes back. The more the pronunciation, the more sound, the more goes back beyond Greek. Remember, Greek is very modern in the sense of its lineage goes back to other languages, so you really have to reference other languages to see if more is there. You know what I'm saying? So we're also going to go into status, because that's what pretty much we're talking about at this point in time. Let's quickly, for the sake of time, we're going to talk about, let's go into American slavery, so-called. Let's talk about the brother Umar ibn Said. Umar ibn Said was from what we call modern-day Senegal. He was captured. I'm going to give a brief overview. You can read about him. You can Google his name. The brother wrote a lot of sigils of science while he was in slavery. He was definitely a well-mastered. Him, like, if you heard of the Prince Among Slaves, about Abdul Rahman, who was a prince from Fuda Jalan, who got caught, enslaved, and find out that this man was advanced in knowledge, that he spoke several languages until they saw him translate in Arabic. They used to make these people translate words in Arabic, the Bible in Arabic. A lot of times they didn't. They would just write Quran for him and say, yeah, that's it. So all they would do was, using their missionary work to try to, convert people. They would just they'd be handing on Qurans thinking it would be the Bible. It's funny. But one thing with Abdul Rahman and Omar Saeed was that when the European or Caucasian pale skin actually found out that they were advanced in knowledge, their name quickly went from Negro to Moor. They would be known as Moors. You know what I'm saying? So the status changed. This particular individual, Umar Saeed, when he was in slavery, he was known as Moru. It's pronounced spelled Moreau, while he was in slavery, because of his advanced knowledge and so forth. See, he wasn't a subordinate, someone who didn't know anything, you know what I'm saying, but he was something of worth. They found that he was more than just, your typical African or whoever was, those particular individuals that were from smaller clans and that they captured or whatever like that. But he actually was able to, produce things. He was knowledgeable. So the fact that he was identifying himself under a Muslim cloak, they pretty much gave him the name Maru. Now, here's the situation. A lot of people believe that the Moor is synonymous with the Muslim, or being Muslim. It is synonymous, but it doesn't mean that it is not. The Moor is not defined as Muslim. At that time, you would be a Mohammedan. You know what I'm saying? Because there's plenty of times where they wrote or they subscribed things or they recorded things as Moors along with Mohammedans. You know what I'm saying? So Moor, like I said, is a title deeming who we are as people in relation with this planet. Overseers, rulers of this world, rulers of the land, governors. You know what I'm saying? That means we take ownership and take responsibility for what goes on. That means, you know what I'm saying? So pretty much that's what really, if you really want to define what the word Moor is, when we wear the fez, that's why Prophet Noble Ali wanted to redeem us back to our creed and who we are, so we can take charge and manage what's going on. Because he foresaw the damage that was being done, and that because we are out of place and we forsaken who we are, and we disobeyed our forefathers and foremothers, we pretty much allowed this planet and things to go out of control. So Moor means someone who pretty much genetically, cosmologically, dealing with, how other sciences are where we come from. We are the governors and rulers of this world. But as you can see with Brother Umar ibn Saeed, he is considered a Moor instead of black and Negro. The same thing with Abdul Rahman. A lot of times they're going to make effort in books to separate the Moor from us, or the so-called Negro or black person, but that's who the black person or Negro is. Truly a Moor. He is not a color. You know what I'm saying? He is Lord of the land, ruler of what he is in this domain. See, the study of the word Moor shows that it has more of overall it has more of a respective reaction, has more of respect in the eyes of others instead of calling yourself black or Negro, right? So we're gonna go into one of our great scholars, and all right, we're talking about different titles, and our friend Dr. Ben Yakinen in his book pretty much says Moors, Carthaginians, Tamarians, um, Ethiopians, Pontus, Numidians, Moroites, Nahisians, which would be the Nubians, the Ortygians, the Amenicians, the Hesperians, and Afrikaans are only a few of the names we are called with honor by ancient Asians and Europeans thousands of years before the Western Europeans knew that the Americans existed, which was equally as long before an African Moor named Pietro Alonso Nino, captain of the Santa Maria, flagship of the Almirante Cristobal Colon, Admiral Christopher Columbus, brought the first Europeans to what was then called the West Indies and the Caribbean Sea Islands, later the New World. Alright, so what he's saying, let's pretty much go back. He said, are only a few of the names we recall with honor. See, there's another thing about the word Moor that a lot of people are misconceived. They said that, they said Moor, they used the word Moor in a dignified or disrespectful manner, like in the movie Black Knight. That's not true. You know what I'm saying? It was a very honorable, respectful word, and pretty much it never meant anything derogatory. So even Dr. Ben even said they called us Moors and other terms with honor. That's just showing my example with the blog. I hope this will enlighten the brother, enlighten those who may be in question. Like I said, Moor's Science Revealed is about shedding light on things. If you have any questions, please do email me at shariftalikl@gmail.com, or just ask a question, down in the comment section. I'm going to leave you with a story that's not necessarily too personal with me, but is a brother whose last name, I know he's a very good brother of mine. We're in the same organization, Groove I Groove, and he actually, years ago, he was working for, I think it was the New York Stock Exchange, but he did the systems, the computer systems, engineering the computer systems, doing that, monitoring their systems and stuff like that. But, in order to do that, he had to go training, and they sent them to Europe, sent them to the UK, out there, in London. And his last name is Moore, Moore. And he's from, his family's from the Barbados. And, I'm not going to put his name out there, but I'm just saying his last name was Moore. And he's very melanated, I can say that. So what happened is that when he went out for his roll call, when he went to training, the lady looked down the list and saw his name, looked at him, and she was going, Moor. And she said it in a way where it was just like, it wasn't nothing nonchalant. It's like she knew who he was and wanted to know if he knew what he was. So the knowledge is there, man. They know who we are, and they know that name means something that's more respectful. You know what I'm saying? And in some places, they fear that we remember that name and that term because that meant their demise. So, I believe y'all. As you can see, someone's trying to call me. I'm gonna leave y'all with peace and love, Islam, and I'll check y'all out next time. Peace.
All over the world. America's the only one because I don't want to say too much.
But it's not number one in the United States.
It's conspiracy, yeah. I will never stop helping and loving people the way Jesus said to. He said, continue to love. Always love. Bring on the children. Imitate the children. Not childish, but childlike.
The return of the black Moors with no fez. It's eerie like that documentary on Lisa Lopez. Pentagrams, pyramids, conspiracies with go-heads. Knock down the levees, knock down the projects. Start another project, build another object. A drive-through touchscreen doctrine for me to digest. Just horses with our blinders on, driving by the obvious. Riding by the obvious, flying by the obvious. Regardless who you vote for, if the mind don't grow and the poverty line don't go, but the dope keep coming and the TV keep flashing images of a sports car, then you bound for a coke war. The meat get clowned by the coke law, the sheep get drowned in the folklore, then lulled to sleep by Tom Brokaw. What a pity. The hope on the politician's tongue never ever trickles down to the city. Yeah. So if a nigga put a president's mask on and run up in the bank with a Mac saying gimme, gimme, I ain't glad at him, but I ain't mad at him. I ain't mad at him. Look, if anybody asks you who I be, say a painter with a felt pen who drew Ali. I'm like Cassius when I blast molasses out the ass of the masses. From Fulton Street Mall to grass shit, I'm handing out free at last kits. Yo Jay, where your staff at? Green said you threw it, yeah, I outgrew it. Some blog said you blew it, nigga fuck your blog. Jigga Man said you can't knock the hustle, dog. I'm on the same launching pad that shot Russell Law. That's why I stay dug. You can ask the tongue, that's why I stay dug.